All right, welcome back to another online learning with Mr. Finley. We're going to continue with part two of the immune system. And just forewarning, as we go forward with this presentation, there are different sounds and sirens that I've added into this Prezi from years past. So if you're listening to this pretty loud, or if all of a sudden you hear a siren, just know that that's actually in the Prezi that I've created here. I'm glad that you've all come back. I see a lot of you took the quizzes. Hopefully that was fun. I had a few students who wanted to take the quizzes more than one time. They actually tried 2, 3, or 4 times, which is totally okay. There is nothing wrong with doing something over and over and over until you perfect that. That's what I like to call practice, and I would never say that that's a bad idea. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start where we left off. What are we trying to protect? What are the first line of defense? The respiratory system, the digestive system, and your skin. What are they all trying to protect? That was a question that I left you with to think about. And if you took the quizzes, it was on the quizzes as well. And I see a lot of you actually answered it correctly. It is the circulatory system. Or we don't want any pathogens, we don't want any germs to get into our bloodstream. If we recall the word localized, if I have bacteria on my hand, that bacteria stays on that same location unless I start to wipe it everywhere. But even still, it doesn't have the ability to spread everywhere. Now, if that same bacteria, if I have a cut that's open, and maybe I'm bleeding and I touch some bacteria, or I touch something, or I don't wash my hands right after I get a cut and there's bacteria, that bacteria can get into my circulatory system and it will go everywhere. If you remember the circulatory system, it's just like a big loop. It goes all around your body and back up to the heart. So if you're a bacteria or a virus, and you get into the circulatory system, you basically have free reign to go all over a person's body. And that's when it becomes more difficult for your body to defend them. Fair warning, sirens. All right, second line of defense. The barriers have been breached. All right, so basically what we're going here is we have gone past the skin, the digestive system, and the respiratory. The pathogen or the germ or the virus or bacteria is actually inside of our circulatory system. So what is our body going to do now that it is in the circulatory system? How is our body going to respond? Because we still have an immune system that is built for fighting germs inside of our body. Okay, phagocytes, also known as white blood cells. All right, phagocytosis. So basically, inside of our body, we have these white blood cells that are in our bloodstream. So our bloodstream has red blood cells and it has white blood cells. And if you look at the picture right here, basically the picture is, to put it in the easiest terms possible, the white blood cell is basically going up to the germ. You can imagine this is the coronavirus if you want to. It kind of looks like the coronavirus. So comes up, it basically eats it and then poops it out. So in no better terms, basically your white blood cells come, engulf these little viruses or bacteria, whatever it is, and destroys it, eats it, poops it out right there. Okay? Obviously, your white blood cells do not poop or eat. There are a lot more scientific words, but just know that you have white blood cells in your body that go around and destroy those germs. So inflammation, I'm sure a lot of us have had this happen before. You get a cut or you get a bruise and you notice that it's red, it's tender in that area. You have redness, you have heat. you have swelling, you have pain. So that's basically inflammation. Inflammation is a good thing to have. Quick side note, I had to stop the video because inflammation is good to have as long as it's not spreading and getting bigger. So if you get a cut and you notice that, oh yeah, it's swelling, you see that it's a little red around your cut, and then after a while, that swelling and redness should actually go down. But if you see that the redness around your cut is actually getting bigger, and let's say it's on your thumb, everybody look down by your thumb, and then all of a sudden it starts spreading and it's still tender, a little painful, that means it might be infected, meaning it got past the first line of defense. So anytime first of all, it's normal to see that inflammation around an injury, but if after a little while, after a day or two, that redness is actually spreading outwards, that's when you need to go see a doctor, because there's a high probability that you actually got an infection, that a germ got into your circulatory system, and now it's maybe spreading a little bit further. Because that's your body's defenses going to that site and starting to repair it. All right, there is a YouTube video, but we're going to go ahead and skip this YouTube video. You guys can watch that later. So another stage would be inflammation. So inside of your body, you have redness, heat, swelling, and maybe a little pain or tenderness in certain, like if you got a cut. Fever. One of the symptoms of the coronavirus is fever. Well, anytime you have a bacteria or a virus or a cold or a flu, it's almost always accompanied by a fever. So what your body is doing is it's raising its temperature to help to create an environment where viruses and bacteria can't grow. Quite a few other things are going on with fever, but one of the main things it's doing is creating an environment inside of your body that's so hot that the virus cannot reproduce. So normally our body temperature is 98.6. A couple other things fever does is it sends a signal to your body, hey, we need more white blood cells. We need more white blood cells. So you have white blood cells that are hanging out, and your body starts to go into a higher temperature. It's going to let them know, come on out. It's also going to block the growth of bacteria or viruses, which I basically just got done saying. So that would be the second line of defense. Alright, now we're entering the third line of defense. We have a third line of defense. We got our first, we got our second, which is basically white blood cells, and now we have our third. So we have even more cells inside of our body. T cells, they're like attack cells. They coordinate an immune response. So if you've been hearing on the news that some people are getting super sick from the coronavirus and other people aren't getting sick at all, a lot of it could have something to do with your immune response, your T cells in your body, and how your body reacts and coordinates to fight off the disease. So it organizes, attacks, and commands. So you have cells in your body that tell other cells, go here because we need more cells over here, or we need more white blood cells to fight the bad guys over there. B cells and antibodies, they have a great memory. So basically what happened is they remember what the germ looks like, and they basically kind of take a picture of it, and they go to another part of your body and create more cells to fight that specific disease like corona. All right, so that brings us to the end of part 2 of the immune system. A couple things to remember is we have 3 lines of defense. The first line is basically trying to stop everything all germs, all viruses, all bacteria from getting into our circulatory system, because once it's in the circulatory system, that virus or bacteria has the ability to travel all over your body. And then instead of fighting the infection in one place, localized, we have to now fight that germ in many different parts of our body. The second line of defense is mainly the quick response that your body's going to do, that you already have white blood cells traveling around in your bloodstream waiting to fight invaders. Then you also have like inflammation and fever, which is part of the second line. It's something that happens right away. It's your body's almost once it detects a germ or something damaging inside of your circulatory system, that's its initial response. The third line of defense, it is a little bit slower than that second line. The second line, you have white blood cells traveling around. Once your body hits that fever stage, it's almost like a signal to other parts where you have other cells, the third line of defense, that are waiting to come out and help even more. So the T cells and the B cells and the antibodies are kind of like your reserve unit. You have, if you were to imagine your immune system kind of like in the military aspect, you've got soldiers who are waiting in a base to come out, and they're waiting for that signal to come out and help even more. Now, the immune system is way more complex than what I'm telling you right now. There are so many different cells. There's a lot of stuff that I have not touched on, and we're keeping it at a very basic entry level learning of the immune system. So if you're getting into this and you're like, I want to know more, why does this do that? Why does this do this? I encourage you to go into Google and watch the SciShow. That's a really good one. SCISHOW. He does a really good job explaining it. And even when I watch some of those videos, they can become confusing. So that's the end of the video, part 2 for now. I think we're going to be talking about next week. Well, let's not talk about that yet. Make sure you take the quizzes. And I'm going to have another quizzes. Get on there. Take it as many times as you want to take that quizzes. And try and stay active the best you can. Remember, be safe if you're being active. I know I called the Parks and Rec department, and they said that their parks are open, but you can't be on equipment, so you can still go there, practice social distancing. Obviously, you're going to talk with your parents and see what they want. Whatever your parents want with you is what you always listen to your parents, okay? Whatever your parents are saying, if your parents are telling you to stay indoors, that's what you do. You always listen to your parents. But, if you have the availability, if you have the freedom to get outside, try and do some activities. Go for a walk, go for a jog, go for a bike ride, get on your skateboard, because that's how you're going to stay, feeling good. I mean, activity, we know, you've heard me say it 100 times, releases dopamine. Dopamine makes us feel good. All right, you guys have a good week.